I was given the ultimatum of Accutane or become my ex-girlfriend.
I have no words, but so many words.
It's not going to happen for you.
No. Ooh, that one kind of stung. You got me there, but
Yeah.
wow. It's time to get loud. Welcome back to Loud Talk with Lavi, a podcast where we break down the walls of beauty standards one flaw at a time. And today I have a very special guest. Please welcome Kiara to the Loud Talk podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, no problem. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm super excited as well. So, right off the bat, like just a little bit about you. So, you are obviously a content creator, more in like the skin positivity space. You've shared your journey with acne. What kind of prompted you to even do this on social media in the first place?
I actually started it off as a safe space for myself.
Okay.
It wasn't kind of to start being a content creator. When I started, it was 3 years ago. So that was like a very, very new kind of environment.
Right.
Yeah, when like people like being a content creator, all I knew was models, right? Like I didn't
Yeah.
see any positivity of like skin. I didn't really see any real skin on social media. So that's why I created the safe space for myself. And I was literally posting a face, like I was a faceless account. So I was posting quotes, things that actually helped
Oh,
me. If you were to scroll down all the way to the bottom of my page, you would literally see just quotes, 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 because it was a confidence issue, right? Like I was
yeah.
too scared to show who was behind those thoughts. So, and then it's actually really cool because if you go through the whole journey, you kind of see the confidence yourself.
Yeah.
Um, you see, like, I start posting pictures and then I start posting videos. And that's how I got into content creation because the response I got was just like so much positivity that it was overwhelming at first, but now like it's the best thing I've ever done,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
I feel like I do these talks with people in the space, and so much of the time that is the response I get. Like I started this because it was to help me, and then it ended up becoming more of a safe space for a community of people rather than just myself. And um I find it so weird. It's almost easier to, post some of that stuff, even if it is just for you, even if it's like, let's say like someone makes a completely private account and just post those photos. There's just something about like posting it that in my head almost felt like I was taking control back over my skin. I don't know if you felt that way
It was
too.
like, I feel the exact same as you. Like it was very freeing for me.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started posting, I posted and the anxiety I felt after was crazy. Like I was waiting for the hate comments or I was
Yeah.
waiting for just someone to say something. You know what I mean? Because that's what I was used to in day-to-day life. And now, like the transition where I post and it's the last thing I think about, to be honest. Like I love creating the content and I love the process of creating the content.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it's out, I'm like, well, that's up to everyone how they want to
Yep.
take it. Like I've put in the work, I've done the content, and it's made me happy. Hopefully, it makes
Yes.
me happy, and that's it, right? Like there's
I,
no anxiety anymore. Like it's really, really freeing.
That's amazing. And I love to hear that you're like, okay, I get my joy from the actual creation part, and that's like what's filling your cup because I think so much of the time, like with social media, people really rely on the validation from others and the likes and the comments and the views to for that to kind of, fulfill them and feel like they have that purpose. But I immediately could tell through your content that you're passionate about it, and that's what I love so much and why I was so eager to connect with you because um I'm trying to phrase this the correct way, but so there's so many people who have started posting more content now, and I think which is amazing, but I think some people might be doing it maybe for the wrong reasons or maybe just looking for that validation or wanting the perks of like, oh, I can get PR through this or whatever it is that they think like influencers get, which is all fine, but I think there's no way that you can actually build like a true community and enjoy it and be able to create content for a long time unless you actually love it yourself because you need to be able to have that self-motivation to keep going even if a video like flops and you don't get the right response or even if it's filled with hate comments. So I absolutely love hearing that from you. And I think for a lot of people too, the fear is, okay, I'll put myself up there, I'll make the video, and they're really proud of it. But if they do get a hate comment, it all kind of plummets. And I know like how I handle that, but I'm curious, like from a different perspective, how do you kind of go about handling hate?
So, I mean, I remember like when I got my first ever like really, really proper like hateful comment. And to be honest, like it still sits with me. I don't know if it's the same as you. There's that one that you always remember, right?
Yeah.
One that just sticks with you regardless of how like positive you are and how much you've grown. Um,
Absolutely. We're just human, right? Like it's always
yeah,
gonna happen. Yeah.
but like I think it goes back to what you said earlier as well about like how there are so many more creators as well like coming onto the scene. I think with like being a creator, another huge perk is that you get to speak to so many in our like in our niche anyway, in our industry, so many amazing women
Yeah.
that have been through so many different things. And the one thing that I've found, like with all the conversations that I've had, is that people have said that if you start being a creator and you start things off with money in your mind, it's not going to happen for you.
No.
Like, if that's your pure
There's
intent,
no way.
it's not going to grow into something or like what you envision it to grow into. So if you start it because you're passionate about it, or if you start it again like just because it's something that you just want to do and you want to try,
Yeah.
that's where you'll eventually kind of find your rhythm. And I think that's what helps me is that every hateful comment that I get, I'm like, okay, well, that's you, but I started this to help myself. And then when I look back to where I was 3 years ago compared to now, like the amount that I've grown, no hateful comment can ever, you know what I mean? Like it took them
Yeah.
seconds to write that, and
Yeah.
I've been in 3 years of my life of being a content creator and like spreading positivity, and like that doesn't measure up.
Yeah. How could like a comment that took 5 seconds to write even come close to diminishing the work you've put in the past
Yeah,
3 years? And I love that you have that perspective because I always talk about it as like sort of an energy exchange. And I think as you mentioned too, like of course we're gonna have comments. I think the one part of social media is sometimes it can create this facade that when you are someone that shows up positive online, people start to think, okay, this person's never had a bad day in their lives. And I like that you're like, no, like, the comments sometimes hurt, they do, but I've grown enough to know how to handle them. And I always talk about it as an energy exchange because if someone, yeah, as you said, took 5 seconds to write a hateful comment, I can take 5 seconds to look at that, be like, ooh, that one kind of stung. You got me there, but give
yeah.
them the same like 5 seconds to like, feel that comment and then be like, move on. Like literally keep it the same energy that they gave me, like let myself feel it and move on from it. But I think too, like as you were saying, if you get the hateful comments, it just pops into my mind that if you are getting people that are maybe hating on your comment, I feel like it also just means that you're reaching people outside of your normal audience, you
Yeah,
know? So it's like
you can't really complain.
no, like and I mean, there's always like the sayings of like, people commenting like that hate, like at the end of the day, they're just boosting your engagement because they added a comment in there and it's not really, you know, they can only affect you if you really let them do so, right? And if you let that comment
And
get to
also, like,
you.
I'm sure it's the same for you, but the positive always outweighs the negative. Like
Yeah.
there's never a video or like picture that I've posted where the negative has outweighed the positive.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, so long as that's the case, I literally couldn't care less, you know?
And I think once you like, especially when it comes to like skin issues and acne, once you go through that, like I could never like when people comment things, you know, telling me I'm ugly or telling me my skin's bad, like once you've gone through that process and done so much of the healing with yourself and been able to get to a place where you can look in the mirror and appreciate your skin even if it's going through a rough patch, you can never even fathom like commenting on someone's skin, something that they can't control. So whenever I see those comments, all I think, I don't even take it as like, oh my gosh, they think this about me. I take it as like they have not gone through something that has affected them in the way where they have no control over it. So they don't understand, they can't understand, and I can't put the blame on them for not understanding, and that's just how it is.
Thing like,
So
and our content isn't for them. You know what I mean? Like our
no,
people who do understand.
yeah. I always do get comments being like when I do talk about like, oh, this is real skin and I show like all the imperfections, I get comments saying, well, some people real skin is that flawless and beautiful. And I'm like, no, like absolutely. I'm not saying this is the only definition of real skin, but at the same time, maybe my content's not for those people, like
That way. Yeah.
yeah, like I think that's the whole movement that more skin positivity creators are making is because there was never content out there for skin like ours. It was always like the clear smooth skin. I'm not saying people don't have that. Like I have friends who literally like have the most perfect like baby smooth skin ever. It's gorgeous, but that's like them and they have content that serves them. And then I'm making content for people that do struggle with acne and stuff. So it's just a different community. And yeah, like not you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea all the time, but I love your perspective on that. I absolutely do. And I think I'm curious now, it's kind of coming to my head. So you did mention you started off like private page. What are your thoughts on I feel like in a way that's kind of what Instagram was trying to do with like the flip side that they came out with. I don't know if you had that feature. I only had it on like one of my accounts, but not the other.
What flip side is that?
They came out with this feature where basically like when you like grab down your account to like refresh it,
Hmm.
instead of the refresh, it went to like a dark version of your page and it was like the flip side where it was like only you could see your posts.
Oh, what? No, I never got that. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
so I only got it on my like Loud Talk account. I didn't get it on my personal Instagram. So I don't know. Maybe they were like trialing it out with some accounts,
What was
but
it?
they're taking it away. What day? I think like this month they're taking it away. And people were saying they were like, "Oh my gosh, I love." Yeah, it was like only you can see your flip side. I've never used it, but it's literally like a private account for you. And I think what Instagram was trying to do with that was the whole thing of like post your stuff that you want to post that you're not wanting to share with the world and kind of make it like your own Instagram of what you actually want to share of your life. I don't think it like gained a lot of popularity and I think that's why they're getting rid of it. But I did see a lot of people on TikTok even saying like I loved the flip side because I could just post whatever I wanted and
That's
it didn't matter. Yeah, it was interesting. I never ended up using it because, like, I mean, that's kind of what I do on my pages anyways. But I'm curious if the people who did have the feature and did really like it are gonna start making more like private
mm.
accounts where they do just post for them.
I wish
I
we
think
all
it's a
got
healthy exercise.
like, yeah, I feel like I wish that we all got it because I would have loved to try that out just to
Hmm.
kind of see like what like how I felt, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like what do I actually end up posting? And yeah.
Yeah, because obviously like having acne and still having acne to this day, like there are still days where I do feel insecure, regardless of how it comes
Yeah,
across the page, right? Like
absolutely.
some days I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna be that 13-year-old girl again that just isn't feeling myself, you know, or
Yeah,
like just didn't wake up on the right side of the bed sort of thing. And
absolutely.
that's fine. But like, yeah, having an account like that would have been really interesting just to see like how I kind of process my emotions and my thoughts. And
Yeah.
oh, that's a
Ve-
shame.
I know they're taking it away, but yeah, that just got me thinking about that because I didn't think like too much deeply into it. I was like, oh, they're just trying a new feature. But then
I was
as I
like,
started thinking about it more, I'm like, oh, maybe this is like a cool thing. I just like it didn't get picked up as much as they probably hoped for. But yeah, I think social media is like an amazing tool. It's just really how people use it. Although there are like more people being more real on it. I think there's still such a long way to go. And even with that, there's still the block of like it is still social media and it still is a curated feed. As you mentioned too, like there's days that you might still struggle. There's days where I struggle with my confidence that sometimes I post and sometimes I don't, right? So it definitely creates this like skewed perception of
yeah,
reality. But at least we can try and I don't know, create more of a healthy space with that. Um, what would you say is like one of the biggest things that like having acne taught you that you're like now grateful for?
there's like it's so weird because when you go through it, you know, and it feels like it's just you. There's so many things that you go through. Like even day to day, I feel like you change, right?
Yeah.
Day to day, you're like you'll have a new thought and you'll deal with it in a different way to the previous day. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Uh, but I think the main thing that I've learned that's literally helped me no matter what in any situation is that the people that actually love you and are with you regardless will be there regardless, you know, like regardless of your skin. And I think like when it comes to it, the one thing that's helped me with that is it's really weird, but when I'm talking to someone in person, um, I look them directly in the eyes.
Hmm.
And the reason I do that is because it helps me to kind of see that they're not actually looking at my skin. And
Right.
it's helped me like massively. Like I remember going on dates and stuff when I was younger and my acne was like much more severe. And all I was looking at is where they were looking. I wasn't looking at them. I wasn't paying attention to the date. I wasn't paying attention to being with my friends and stuff like that. Like I was so focused on myself and my skin that that's all that was on my mind. So now when I realized that people actually are interested in me and not my skin, you know, like something as simple as just looking into their eyes and having a conversation, I completely forget about my skin. And
Right.
it's like implementing that day to day that's helped me to get to where I am now compared to where I was like a year ago, let's say.
Yeah.
It's
That
crazy.
that's an amazing like little just piece of advice that's so easy to implement.
My top
Uh,
tip, anyone that
Yeah.
comes to like anything to do with mindset or dating, like anything, that is my top tip to them. Just look someone in the eyes and you'll
Yeah.
realize they are not looking at your skin.
I
Like
love
that's
that.
the last thing on their mind, right?
Yeah.
Your
No,
last thing on their mind.
and I love that. And I think like even it goes both ways, right? Like if you're looking that person in the eyes, it's probably because everyone has their own insecurities, and especially when it comes to like dating, like a first date, like you're both like, oh, like this does this person like me? So if you're also looking them in the eyes, I'm sure that's also settling their like insecurities,
Like,
and
yeah,
like it literally goes back and forth, and then it's like okay, we're both just like interested in like talking to each other and not looking at all these things that make us as a person insecure but the other person probably doesn't even care that much about, right? And I think yeah, I think dating with acne especially is like this whole like dark cloud that sits over people's heads. And I always am very open about this conversation. Like I was in a like dating period of my life when my acne was literally at its worst. And I think the timing was really good for me because I think I was able to grow a lot of confidence because would go on these dates and I'm like, you know what, I want to present my best self, but that this is the skin I'm in and this is what I'm going through right now. I can't change that, but I can still bring like the best me to the table. The one thing that I wish I maybe didn't do as much in that period, which I've grown and learned from now, is like giving justification, kind of like telling the person like, oh, I have acne because I'm going through this and this and this. Which maybe I don't think it's wrong to do. I just think I shouldn't have stressed so much about like explaining myself to them. If it like came up more naturally or maybe they like yeah, if it just came up more naturally in the conversation, I opened up about it, or even if they asked me like what I do for work, and then it just came about more naturally, then but I feel like I would be like, okay, I need to have a moment in the conversation to explain why my skin looks this way, which like I
this
didn't
is
need to do.
so weird because like I feel like I felt the exact same as you, where it was like I felt like I had to address the elephant in the room, but
Like
I
it
don't
was like this
know. I
crazy
thought
thing I was dealing with.
yeah, like I don't know why I thought the elephant in the room was my skin because
Hmm.
who cares that, you know what I mean? Like no one cares enough for that to be the elephant in the room, especially
Yeah.
like that you're on a date with, you know what I mean? Like for you to be on a date with someone, let's say, like they have
Yeah.
some sort of interest in you, right?
Yeah.
So if they have an interest in you, like same with your friends or like anyone, right? Like anyone who you're meeting has
Yeah.
an interest. So
Absolutely.
skin is not on their mind. Yes, it
No.
might be yours, but it is not on theirs. You know what I mean? So like even
Yeah.
as you said, like that feeling to have to justify yourself is it's crazy to me to think now, you know,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
the thing still feel the same.
Yeah. And I think too, like, because I've gotten questions in the past being like, well, you can't tell that I have like acne in my photos, so like I don't want that to be a like catfish situation or whatever. And I think to that too, like, I think it would really help everyone if we just like posted. I'm not saying like you have to post like your worst flare up on your dating profile, but maybe like do post a photo where you're not covering your skin as much or not using a filter because I think then that breaks the barricade of then you don't have to explain anything, even if you may feel like it. Not that you have to in the first place, but it just kind of removes the pressure, I think. And it's like, hey, this is who I am. And for me, since I did have like public social media and all this, like people that I did go out with, like they knew exactly what my skin looked like. So, but I don't know, it was just that in-person interaction where I felt like I needed to like justify it. But I think in like the typical dating world, if you're like on a dating profile and you're meeting for the first time, like if you are more authentically you on the profile, I think that just kind of removes that that strange like barricade.
No, honestly, but then I also think at the same time, like that shouldn't be on just us acne girls, you know.
Yeah. No,
That
no, no, no,
should
absolutely
be
not.
on everybody. Like even the
Yeah,
through the skin in the world, like she should I'm sure she has a little imperfection, you know what I mean? Like that should
exactly.
be on us because I feel like anyone with acne, obviously only people with acne understand people with acne fully,
Yeah.
right? But we have to go through so much. Like our minds are constantly on the go. So it shouldn't then have to also be on us to, you know, try and normalize skin texture and normal, you know what I mean? Because skin texture, like acne and skin texture are two completely different things. Skin
Mm-hmm.
texture, there's not one person that doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Like, of course, people are going to go out of their way to try and cover it and edit it out and whatever. But
Mm-hmm. Get
it
good
should,
lighting, all of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's why like I actually really love your content where you show the like different lighting, skin and different
Thank you.
lighting, because again, like that's probably where you probably get a lot of hate, but at the same time, like you're literally showing life.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
just right, and you
And
have to
I,
accept.
and I started posting those because I would like do my makeup and people would be like, oh, like my makeup never looks like this when I do it. And I'm like, oh, well, that's because I'm sitting in front of a ring light. Like, let me
Yeah,
show you what it actually looks like when I move to like a bathroom lighting or outdoor lighting. And it's so funny. Every time I post those, I always get comments from mostly men, but sometimes women too. I'm not gonna just, like tackle the men here, like women too, who are like, no, this is edited. Like you're wearing makeup in one and no makeup in the other. I'm like, you can literally see like makeup in both, but it's just an angle. And they're like, no, you edited this, like your hair looked different in one. And then I've just done videos where I'm like, okay, well then here, like this is not.
yeah, so,
And then they're like, no, I still don't want it. So it's
I mean,
like,
people will never be happy, right? Like
no, no, no.
you can be as vulnerable as possible
Yeah.
on, and people will still have a problem. So it's like I feel like any creator who has any imperfection and they're showing up about it, like they're doing an amazing job.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like my content isn't for those people that are they're hating, but I think too there's just it's almost like a want to like not believe that I think it's also hard for people to accept those things, especially if they like grew up seeing all these photos and they always thought like this is just how skin is supposed to look. It's almost takes a little bit of convincing to be like, oh, I guess like I had this wrong perception, this whole time. And even though it might be like alleviating for some, for others, it might be like frustrating because they're like, what the hell? Like, I've been like lied to my whole life on social media. So I get it, and I'm not. But yeah, I think you're totally right in that too. Like it's up to everyone to be more open. I think I mean dating is hard as it is, but when you're struggling with your self-image as a person, it just like adds to it. But I personally do think I got like that worst flare up of my life at a very interesting point because I always say like I had the worst acne in my life, but I became like the most confident person in myself because I almost had to. It was like when you reach that rock bottom, it's like you either sit there or decide to start climbing up. Like you literally have no other choice. And I was like, well, I'm not just gonna like sit miserable and like I'm still gonna live my life and go on dates and like meet people. Like there's literally no point for me to just try and isolate myself because who knows when this acne will go away, one. And two, like after it even does, like I know I'll be left with scarring. I know I'll be dealing with that. So like my skin will never be this perfect thing and it doesn't need to be. But yeah, I think dating with acne is like one of the number one questions that I get asked about how do you do it? How do you navigate it? And I think like one of my tips, yeah, from the get-go, like dating profile, just like if you're showing up authentically you on there, it just kind of removes those fears and insecurities when you do go on the date. And even though like it might be a bit harder to do that in person, and as you mentioned, if that person wants to get to know you and has an interest in you, then like it's kind of a they're interested in you fully, not just because if you have a breakup, like imagine, I think of it this way too, like imagine dating someone, right? Like let's say you're in a longer relationship and a year into it, like you just randomly get like cystic acne because hello, we're women, our hormones are always changing and like it happens. Like how are you gonna like justify in your head like, oh, this person's gonna leave me just because I got acne? Like
That's so
randomly.
that's so funny you say that because my my ex, right? This was a long time ago, but as you said, it's when my acne was literally at its worst. Like I've had acne for about 12 years now,
Yeah.
but this was 3 years ago and it was the worst flare up of my life. And it was
Yeah.
at university. So again, like a very interesting time in my life.
Yeah.
This was a long-term relationship, and I'm talking like 5 years. Um,
Okay.
and I was given the ultimatum of Accutane or become my ex-girlfriend. And I was like, yeah, like it was a lot. And at
There's
the
no way.
no, this is the thing. Like when I tell people this story, they actually don't believe me, but that is exactly how it happened. And it happened so quick that I didn't even get time to process my emotions. Like I've only just recently processed that whole situation because basically in a few words he said, your acne is too much for me. So if you go on Accutane, I need you to guarantee me that you won't be emotional about your skin again. And I was like, yeah, no, exactly. I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
I
oh my,
have I have literally I
yeah,
have no words but so many words
so
to
many
say
words.
that.
I still
Like,
have so many words, but that, like, genuinely for me, like, that was a transformational moment because I was
yeah,
like that. Obviously, I was in a very, very bad place after that.
right.
But I was like, how do you think you even have any right to
Yeah.
tell, first of all, a 20-year-old woman what to do with her body and what to put into her body, but second of all, to tell her that she's not lovable with her skin.
And yeah.
She's allowed to have emotions.
Yeah.
Like, what?
So many things to break down there.
Yeah,
Like,
there's a lot of unpacking to do.
yeah. First off, like Accutane's not like a joke, like it's not like, oh yeah, no problem,
Yeah,
Um,
just take a pill and it's fine. Yeah, no,
it
no.
literally is such a like big life change to like go on Accutane and like I always chose not to go on it. I think it can do amazing things for some people and in certain scenarios I think it's very much necessary, but it's not just like a let's just go do it. Like there's so much that goes into before you can even go on Accutane to like prep for it and make sure that your body's in right health and that you can actually handle the drug. And even if it's for your acne, like who knows if it, I don't know. Have you been on Accutane
Yeah, so
ever?
I went
Yeah.
on it and it didn't work for me.
Okay, so I was just gonna say like you don't even know if it's actually gonna like fix your acne for you, right? So people do see it as this like one stop shop solution. And also back to like the common thing, and this last thing I'll say about that is people are always like, if you just took Accutane, like it would all be fixed. And I'm like, you guys don't think I like looked into this? Like,
The
let's be real.
unsolicited advice I get, the amount of people that have literally just commented, not even take Accutane, they just say Accutane on my
Actually,
post. Like,
yes, that's like
you, that has really,
yes, as if
like,
I've
12 years of acne gone. Thank you.
like
Like,
never heard of it before, never
yeah,
heard of it.
it's
But that,
all. And then, like, I come back and tell them that Accutane didn't work for me. Like, I've done that. I've been there. I've tried it.
yeah,
It didn't work. I mean, that was
and
3 years. Still, they're like, oh no, like, you must have done something wrong.
yes, it's still on you. Like it's still on you, even though it's literally not like yes, it can work like miracles for some people, but it's not just a one-stop shop for everyone. Like it's not, and people have maybe it does work for them, but then years later their acne comes back. Like for some people it works and that's it, and that's what they had to do, but it's not a one size fits all solution. But I still cannot like yeah, even process what you just told me
Yeah,
because and I think that further proves the point of like if someone and I'm so sorry first of all, I'm so sorry you went through that because no one deserves to hear that. No one deserves to be told that like their skin truly defines them, especially with, and I see your content too. Like, I think we push so much that your skin does not define you and this and this and this, but obviously you've come a long way from there and you made sure that you didn't let that like actually define you as a person because I see it through your content and what you speak for. But I think it further illustrates that if someone is like truly there for you and seeing your worth as a person, especially in a dating scenario as a partner, your skin should almost be like the least of their
concern.
worries.
Yeah,
And if anything, they should be concerned of it as like a I can see that this is really taking a toll on you. Like, how can I be here to support you? Like
no, like,
it should be one of their worries in the sense of like, how can I support you through this rather than you need to fix your skin.
yeah.
Wow, that is crazy.
I
That
even
is
took it,
actually
like, I
insane.
didn't even see it as a fix my skin. Like, I ended up seeing it as a fix myself situation. Like,
Right, right.
it goes so much deeper than that because I remember that was like a 5-year relationship. So I was like, so I basically wasted 5 years of my life. Like, for you to come and tell me that you can't handle my skin, like, I was like, okay, so you can't handle me. You can't handle, and
Yeah.
I think people really have to be wary of these things when they are dealing with, like, not even someone who has acne, as you said, like dealing with a woman, because yes, a woman can develop acne and get acne when she's 25. She can get it when she's 30. She can get it. You know what I mean? Like, menopause acne is also a thing.
Yeah. And not just acne, but like so many, like our bodies go through so many changes,
Yeah.
like, and I just saw this conversation on TikTok. This girl like was talking about how she one day woke up at like, I think she said like 25 or maybe older, but whatever. She was like, at this age, like I woke up, my body looked completely different.
Mhm.
And then another like I think this is just becoming more of a conversation. This other girl who's in her 30s, she's like, I don't have any kids, and I see the changes my body has like gone through. And she's like, I think if I did have kids, I would have blamed, it would have been like, oh, my body's just changed because I had kids and that's just a natural thing. But she's like, even without kids, my body just naturally changed. And yeah, I think like it's not just acne, but it's like when you're with someone, like you love them for them, and you also know that, like as people always say, like looks fade as you get older, and things happen, things come up, and you can't just like bank that that person's literally gonna look like that forever, especially when you start like I'm assuming you guys started dating pretty young, as you said, like you were in the relationship for 5 years, so obviously like you're both gonna go through changes. You can't just like physically, mentally, emotionally, like all of that. It's just a natural progression of life. And wow.
Yeah.
I yeah. I can't even.
I was like, oh my God, she is literally describing the situation that I went through.
Yeah. Wow, and I
Yeah.
was using that as like like let me reassure
I'm
people.
out.
I was like, let me reassure people that like, someone who cares for you and like is dating you for a while is not going to like freak out if you get acne for years. But
Yeah.
um
Oh no.
yeah, but I mean, I think that like I probably validated for you, like maybe this person isn't isn't the right person for me.
It's like I've gone on such a self-growth journey since then, and I've learned so much about myself and what I don't want in a person, and also like what
Yeah.
myself, you know. Um, so yeah, like I only see it as
Yeah.
positive now, but I think it was also good for me in terms of my content to show people that unfortunately things like that can happen, and people have, these views on people with acne,
Yeah.
and that is unfortunately that is reality, right? We
Yeah.
can't avoid it. So I think like what you and me are doing and what so many other creators are doing, I think it's so important, like not just for ourselves, but
Yeah.
for anyone experiencing any insecurity, really.
Absolutely. I have this is not like really sorry, this is not really a dating story. Well, kind of it. I was like dating like at the time, like going on dates and stuff, and I went for lunch with a friend that I had been friends with for a while. I don't really communicate with them anymore. And this kind of like I think this moment was very pivotal for me in this like friendship with this person. Um it was like a guy that I was friends with, and I was talking to them, and I was kind of expressing my struggles with my skin, and like, because I felt like open enough to discuss that. And these words like ingrained into my brain like to this day, because they were like, I don't think it would have been fair if you like didn't have acne, because they're like, you're smart, like you have like this career going for you, you have all this
Oh,
stuff.
I know. Okay, carry on. Sorry, I hate this. Yeah, carry
Yeah.
on.
And they're like, so it's like only fair, like from like a universe perspective, that like you have acne because it like
Sort of flaw. Yeah,
levels out. And I was sitting there and I'm like, did I just hear that correctly?
that's unbelievable.
Like,
What?
yeah. And I told like my boyfriend about this scenario. I told like some of my friends, like, and they all were like, what the hell?
Though, I think situations like that literally show that that person had many insecurities, probably. Like for you to
Yeah.
like put an insecurity that someone already has, like the fact that you were willing
Mm.
to open up about your acne means that you already know and you've acknowledged that it's an insecurity of yours, right?
Yes.
They were able to take that and then throw it back at you is crazy because
And I
you know
almost,
it means
yeah.
that they've got issues
Yeah.
themselves.
And
Yeah,
I almost took it as like almost like stop complaining because like you have all this other like stuff going for you, like
yeah.
you're fine. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh, okay. Like I'm not, it just like threw me for a loop so hard, but so I can't even,
It just makes you feel like you can't have any feelings, right?
yeah, I'm like, Kate,
Completely invalidates feelings towards your skin in any way,
yeah.
shape, or
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so I can't even imagine like how you felt in that scenario, being told that. And what a crazy ultimatum. Like
I
it
know.
and
I
and it's
think,
not even something like
but
I just when it comes to like acne, like yes, I understand that you were probably like acne is a very emotional journey. I always speak on this. It's not just like it's physically painful, it's emotionally painful. Like there's so much that you go through, and it's not just about like the physical look of it. Like you actually go through so much because it changes your whole lifestyle, like literally everything, and you're constantly thinking about it. So I understand how that could be brought into a relationship because you obviously like go to your partner to talk about the things you're struggling with and all of that. So
Yeah.
I totally get that, but I don't think clearing the acne or like getting on Accutane to like clear the acne would have solved anything because it's so much like deeper. And I think when you do have acne, you almost either like even if you clear and like say you there is that magic pill that would clear it literally the next day, I think you still have to go through the process yourself of refining your worth and seeing like your value outside of your looks. And that's one thing that I'm forever grateful for acne because it taught me exactly that. Like, yes, I care about my looks. I care, like, I love fashion. I love makeup. I love all of that. But it just taught me to not just focus so much on like vanity and these little things that we all try to perfect because at the end of the day, I don't know, life just has so much more to it. And I even just recently, like I was on vacation and I was at the beach and I was thinking back to a few years ago where I'd go to the beach and I'd hold so much anxiety of like, oh, people are looking at my skin and all of this. And now I was just sitting there and I was like, do I remember those vacations as, oh my gosh, I had this huge breakout then, or do I just remember the moments from the vacation more, you know? And so that's like one of the things that I'm like forever grateful for with acne is like it taught me so much more than and like, yes, acne sucks. I don't wish it upon anyone, but I'm also very grateful for like the life lessons that came about.
Yeah, I was gonna say like this isn't me saying I love my acne and like I wish I have it forever,
Yeah.
but
No.
I've seen I've seen recently so many creators like skin positivity, body positivity creators actually come on and say that once they've healed something because of like how emotional it is. So like for example, someone who's healed their acne, they then just find themselves looking for another insecurity. So like
Yeah.
someone who's completely cleared their acne and they haven't had a breakout in however long, they then look to other areas of their skin
Yeah.
to find the next insecurity.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, wow, because I haven't managed to clear my acne fully. Like, okay, yes, like, it's manageable, but I feel like it's always going to be a part of me.
Yeah.
So luckily, I mean, luckily in a sense, I'm always focused on my acne, but in a positive way now, right?
Right.
But it hasn't given me the chance to even look at other things, like I'm just now enjoying life, managing my skin,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's it. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing else. It's just me, my life, and my skin.
Mm-hmm. And
But
I
finally,
think it's totally normal to want to change things about yourself and have goals. And, if I think it's all about like I talk a lot about like body neutrality too and like skin neutrality because I think as you mentioned too, like I don't want to have acne forever, but I can still enjoy my life and have a more positive view while I'm still trying to heal it. That doesn't mean like, oh, I'm done, cut out all the skincare, like just let the acne like go on. No. And even like that goes with like body image too. Like if you want to go on a fitness journey or change the way your body looks or whatever it is, like plastic surgery, whatever you want to change, like if that's one of your like do that. But I think that inner healing, as you mentioned, is so, so important. I made a video like really well, like years ago when my acne was really, really flared up, and I said like clear skin won't make you happy. Like
mm,
you choosing to be happy that day, that's what's gonna like actually make that long-term happiness actually stay consistent because as you mentioned like you get clear skin tomorrow, you lose 10 pounds tomorrow, whatever it is, you as like literally word for word as you mentioned, you're just gonna turn to the next thing and be like, hey, what's the next thing I can fix about myself? So I think going through that journey, although it's tough and although we all wish like, hey, I would, and in those moments you do feel like if I just didn't have acne all my issues in life would be solved. But once you actually do, I think, go through it, you start to see that, oh, maybe it did take more of like an internal healing to just change my perspective on the way I see life and happiness and all of that.
yeah, literally,
Hmm. I do want to go back to the dating thing. So obviously, like traumatizing. I don't even know like
yeah.
that's insane. But how did you like get past that? How did you after like ending that relationship, were you like fearful of like ever dating again and that whole situation? I'm sure probably you were, but how did you go about that?
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, so because I actually did decide to go on Accutane, and that wasn't anything to do with him, that was like a me decision. I did notice that my skin started clearing, and it's really weird. But as soon as my skin like completely cleared from Accutane, that's actually when I broke up with him because I was
Okay.
like, you know what, I still don't really feel as happy as I thought I would. Um,
Right.
And I think it was the weight of everything that he had said to me and all the thoughts that were just going through my head. And obviously, being on Accutane itself, I was still on Accutane. So there was just a lot going on. And I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? I need to do this by myself. And I think that was the pivotal moment is like, I finally made a decision for myself and a decision that I knew would benefit me. I
Hmm.
think I spent like all of my acne years trying to, as you said, like justify myself and kind of cater to others' needs rather than catering to my own.
Hmm.
And as soon as I made that one decision, it led to so many other decisions. So I would start doing, things that, and this was nothing to do with dating at all, but doing things and finding new things that made me really happy, whether my skin was clear or not, like allowed me to get back into dating in a healthy mindset. And I actually got back into dating a lot quicker than I thought I would. And
Okay.
that was post Accutane when my skin was clear, because my skin was clear for about 6 months after Accutane. And
Okay.
then started coming back. And what I noticed when my breakouts started coming back, I actually wasn't really scared to go on dates. Like,
Mhm.
yes, I could cover my face with makeup, but it didn't hold me back, sort of thing. And
Yeah.
it was actually kind of a talking point for anyone that I felt comfortable to talk to about it. Obviously, like, you're never going to feel 100% comfortable with everybody,
Hmm.
right? But sometimes I did actually feel it was a talking point. Um, and dating just became a lot more fun, you know? Um, it just became this enjoyable experience where like I'd come back from every date and I'd be able to kind of, I say every date like I've dated about 5 million people. That's not what I meant, but I came back from the dates and kind of had like a little like self-reflection. I don't know, like I used to obviously be like pre-Accutane. I use and even recently to be honest. That feeling when you take off your makeup and you see your real skin and you
Yeah.
don't see in the mirror. But I used to come back from dates feeling like I'd learned a little bit about myself and I'd just been
Okay.
able to just be free and do something without looking at my phone, looking at my camera, looking in a mirror,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? And just escaping from it all. And I feel like doing that every now and again just kind of re-emphasized that, like I am an interesting person,
Yeah.
and then that allowed me to come back and be like, okay, cool, let's try this, let's try that. And I think that's how I came back from it. And then I think that because that's what was going on in my personal life, that then showed in my content. And the more positivity I was getting, it was kind of like a cycle. Like the more positivity I was getting in my content, like from people who were responding or people that were messaging me, that then kind of motivated me to keep going, whether I had acne or not. And obviously, because my page is an acne positivity page, whenever I did have acne, it ended up being a situation of, okay, well, now I can use this to create this bit of content, or I can
Hmm.
use it to, message this person and tell them that I've had a flare up and, they're not the only one, sort of thing. And
Hmm.
I think all that positivity that was going on just kind of helped me flourish in dating. And like now I'm in a 1.5 year relationship. So, here we
Love
are.
that.
Yeah.
And they don't care about that.
Yeah, exactly. It worked. So
Yeah. Yeah,
can't complain.
no, I love that you have that perspective. I think it's so important for people to hear. And I think especially when you are like in the dating world, I think we focus so much of it on like the other person. And yes, it's like about getting to know people, but I think you, as you mentioned, you can learn so much about yourself in that process of just like going on a few dates with people. And um, it is such a way that you can build that confidence in yourself and, kind of give yourself a pep talk before like get all glam and all of that. And you did mention like the taking off the makeup at the end of the day. I think that's always such a like big question that I get asked to like, how do I take off my makeup in front of my partner? Like I'm so nervous about this, all of that. And I when I was like going on dates and stuff, it was during the summer, so I was wearing like lighter makeup anyways, but I felt like it, even though I was doing my makeup and I was doing a little bit of coverage, since I wasn't doing like full coverage, it was less of a dramatic thing when I was like when I came home and I took off my makeup because it was like okay, like it's not like this huge transformation. At the end of the day, like yes, sometimes guys like can't notice like things and they're a little oblivious with that stuff, but with the type of acne I had, like it was so cystic that like no matter how much makeup I wore, unless the lighting was literally perfect, like you could see that I had like the texture underneath. So unless like a guy was like so oblivious about how like makeup and acne works, I think like they knew. But yeah, I think just creating more of a positive mindset around that and even just creating like a safe space for yourself, taking off and outside of dating too, just taking off your makeup at the end of the night in general, like maybe it's watching one of your favorite creators like you or me where, we take off our makeup together, or putting on a show and doing that just to make it more of an enjoyable experience. And with time, it's not like this huge, drastic moment because it can feel very daunting, as you said, like looking in the mirror and not recognizing yourself. I did want to ask you, so obviously you said your acne came back after like 6 months. So how did that feel? And do you feel like you felt a little bit of like that defeat feeling when it came back, or like, oh, like here we go again? Or how did you kind of navigate it since it was like, kind of taking a step back?
I'm not gonna lie, that was probably the worst I've ever felt in my life. Like it was 100% a defeat feeling.
Right.
Luckily, Accutane wasn't. I didn't have the crazy side effects that I've like read that other people have kind
Okay.
of. So luckily, it wasn't like a instant regret, but it was honestly like everything that happened when my acne was at its worst, like that everything came back.
Yeah.
Even though like the breakouts I was getting after were nowhere near as bad as what they used to be. But it's weird, like every single feeling came back. Um, and I think I documented that part of my journey on my page because I was like, well, this is relevant, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
before that, all the Accutane journeys that I'd seen had all been positive. There was
Hmm.
not seen acne come back from Accutane because, as you said, like acne is this be all end all situation where it's like, it will clear your skin 100%. And that's what I was
Yeah.
told by the dermatologist. That's what I was told by, like, I was told by everybody that no matter what, Accutane will clear your skin.
Yep.
And that's why, to be honest, I didn't even do my research before going into it.
Hmm.
And I wish I had. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was hard. It was hard because the breakouts also got significantly worse. It wasn't like they just stayed kind of, like a little breakout here and there. It was, it was a lot. And then I actually ended up like completely, almost like burning my skin and giving myself like this crazy skin reaction, which I had for a couple of months because I started panic buying.
Yeah.
So I started panic buying loads of products because I just felt like my self worth was just like it just wasn't there anymore.
Hmm.
And I needed a quick fix. And obviously, Accutane wasn't an option because I'd already been there, done that. I didn't want to go on the pill again or anything like that. Um, and yeah, it's weird. Like, I think documenting all of this stuff and like actually having conversations with other people and seeking advice from other people rather than healthcare professionals, for me, for example, really helped because you get to you get to meet and speak to people who are literally going through the same thing as you.
Yeah.
Like when you're going through it, you feel like it's just you, but having the confidence to reach out to someone who you've never spoken to, someone who you've never met, like it really does help confidence wise and also just advice wise. Like I realized that simple skincare for me, like for life, is going to be how I do things, you know, and that's what my skin
Hmm.
loves. And I think finding love in that, and then as you said, like doing my skincare and putting on a good show, or like putting on some music, or just doing something that was enjoyable. My stress levels literally decreased like crazy.
Yeah.
Naturally my skin just started healing.
Yeah.
Like it was insane because obviously when my acne came back after Accutane, my stress levels were, when I say through the roof, through the roof.
Yeah.
I'd graduated and I didn't even care about what I'd got in my degree. I didn't care about any of that. Like all that I was focused on was my skin. And yeah, like once I started to feel my stress kind of reduce and reduce and reduce and see that my skin was clearing, that was it for me. Like
Absolutely.
I knew that it was a completely internal thing. I knew what I needed to do. And yes, I'm still figuring it out. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm still
Yeah.
here. I'm still finding new things that are helping,
Hmm.
and things that aren't helping.
Yep.
But that is what being a woman and acne is, right? Like
It,
you're always gonna be trying and
yeah.
testing. And yes,
It's
it can
always a journey.
but like I'm so grateful that Accutane didn't work for me because if anything, it's a talking point. Like,
Yep.
you know, it's a talking point. Uh,
Absolutely. I appreciate you opening up about all that because I think people do talk a lot about like acne as experience and then okay, how I cleared it or like got to a point where I minimized it, but no one really talks about like acne relapses and how that can literally take you back to square one. It's literally like starting over again because it's like Are you kidding me? Like I've already gone through this. Like I get it. I've learned the lessons, but maybe sometimes it does take like a couple times to actually really go through the healing and then it's like and
Well,
I think
because also
sorry.
bear in mind, sorry, like, but because you haven't been on Accutane, right?
Yeah.
Accutane completely changes your skin. So
Yeah.
what my skin was before Accutane was
Right.
now not the same. So it literally was like I was a new person, and I was a
Right.
person who just developed acne because the skincare products that worked for me before,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and that's how I got to the skin reaction, the skin burning, because I
Mm-hmm.
assumed like a one size fits all approach where what worked for me before was going to work for me again. You know,
Right.
but when people are considering whether to take Accutane or not, like there's all these things that have to be considered, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna change.
So would you okay, so obviously again you said, but you don't necessarily like regret going on the Accutane or because you said you didn't have like the side effects.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say like I wouldn't say I regret it
Mm-hmm.
because there's no way of knowing, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
my acne would be as
If you
manageable
yeah.
as today if I didn't go on it because like my acne was really, really severe. And to be fair, my mental health was literally like in the gutter. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't anymore. So for that, like I can't say anything about
Yeah.
Accutane. Like, for me, like that really did help. Um, but I think what I regret is, as you said, like people who don't do their research, and I didn't do my research. It was literally a desperation movement,
Yeah.
uh, and obviously, like with the relationship and everything that's going on, there was just a lot of external factors that were pushing me towards Accutane.
Mm-hmm.
And weirdly enough, none of those external factors were anything to do with me. Like not one of them came from me. It was just all these things that didn't really matter in hindsight, um, that kind of pushed me towards it. So I wouldn't say that I regret it, but I kind of regret the whole process.
Right. You just would have approached it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like, yes, like everyone should do the research and stuff, but also like when we do go to, our doctor and we're like, I'm struggling with Accutane, like I think it is also on them to kind of be like, okay, Accutane's a serious drug, like let's go through all the like and kind of more just make sure that like the patient is prepped for what they're going into and making sure that's the right solution for them. Um, Obviously like doctors don't always have hindsight to where whether it will actually work on you or not, but I think and not with every single physician, but I think sometimes it is very like pushed on you. Like I went to the doctor literally not even asking about my skin and I was met with, "Oh, do you want me to prescribe Accutane to you?" Not even asking like, "Have you gone Accutane before? Like, what's your blood work like?" Like, so I feel like it's so easily handed out and just like pushed. And I had to leave that conversation. Like, I literally left the doctor's office crying because I kept saying I do not want to go on Accutane. And it was like, no, you need to go on Accutane. Like, this is the only thing that will fix your acne. You need to go on Accutane. And I was like, why am I sitting in this doctor's office feeling like I have to take a drug that I do not want to take? So I think it can be often like pushed. And I just was gonna say like if there are more conversations like this where it's like Accutane may be an amazing solution, especially as you mentioned, like when your mental health is super low and you're like, I just need that fix to like get me through this. Like I totally see that, and I think it can be such a good solution for so many people. But I think there just needs to be more conversations on like, okay, but what if it's not, and how do I know if it's for me and all of that.
I mean, people also talk about their mental health like completely depleting though whilst they're on
Yeah,
Accutane. This is
absolutely, yeah.
like, and again, doctors and dermatologists don't talk about that. There's no
No.
check-in. There's no like all those checks.
Mm-hmm.
There's no mental check-in. There's nothing like that.
And
Um, and sorry, I think when like it was interesting that you were saying that now it's so easily accessible because it is. When I went on it, which was 3 years ago, it was seen as this miracle drug that no,
mm-hmm.
like I was told by so many people that didn't like weren't able to get it that their acne wasn't severe enough. So they were like, we only give it to the really severe cases. And
Interesting.
dermatologists, they were like, you're lucky because your acne is that severe that we're going to give it to you. And I was like, at the time, I felt like I'd won a prize, you know,
Right.
kind of.
Exclusive club.
Yeah, they were
Like a
like,
Met Gala invite. You're like, whoa.
literally. I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. But yeah, like now seeing it 3 years later and everyone is taking it, I'm like, what? Because that is not the way that it was sold to me. And I think that's another huge reason why I took it, is because
Interesting.
I was like, maybe this is my only chance. And you know what I mean? Like when your mental health is that bad with your acne, if
You're
it's
willing
your
to do anything.
chance, you're gonna take it.
Yeah, you're gonna do literally anything,
Yeah.
anything. Yeah, I don't know if it's like because you're in the UK, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like here, I'm in Canada, and I know I've had friends who like literally had like three breakouts and were prescribed Accutane. Like, maybe it's just I don't know, but
maybe it's a country thing then. Yeah,
yeah, maybe. But either way, like I do think there needs to be like more conversation on the mental health side for sure because already when you have acne, like your mental health is already like like you're already going through it. So then like slapping Accutane on top of that, if it's you're gonna have those side effects, like it can be like really, really bad. Like I've talked to people even on here where um they just went through like the worst mental health of their life when they were on Accutane. They're like, I never was like this before Accutane. So it's definitely not serious. And I'm not saying like it's the work. Like obviously it works for some people and it's needed in some scenarios. I just think the conversations need to be there and the check-ins. Like it would be so amazing if there was like a mental health check-in with every time you do your blood work on Accutane. Like I think that should be.
should be like there literally should be. The evidence is
Yeah,
there. There should be. You know.
absolutely, absolutely. Um. Yeah. It's such a complex, like, I think sometimes I do think too, like, oh, like it's just acne, but it is such a complex thing and it literally takes such a toll on your life. It kind of just becomes like a part of who you are. And I always find it crazy because people always comment on my stuff and they're like, "Oh, you talk about is your acne, blah blah." And but then when I talk about like literally anything else, like I'll do a video about my school or um I remember I did a video where I was just like rating the different nail designs I got throughout the year and someone was like, "Have you tried Accutane?" So I'm like, literally even when I try to
You
not
can't
talk
escape
about my
it.
acne,
You can't escape
it just like comes back like people are still giving me suggestions on my skin. I'm like, I'm literally trying to just like talk about my life right now, and all y'all want to talk about is my acne. And then when I do talk about my acne, people are like, this is all you talk about.
But this is the thing, I feel like being a creator and especially like being an acne kind of like positivity or like documenting your acne creator, I feel like that's what people come for, right? You know,
Yep.
like whether it's in a negative or positive way,
Yep.
that's what people want to see. So
It's funny, I posted like on my Instagram some like memories like I went to Paris like a few months ago and I posted this video because I was like so sad coming back home just because I loved Paris so much.
powerful.
So I posted a video that was like, oh, when that like post-trip depression like hits you and just like I did like a recap of like some videos. Some in the comments was like, oh, this bitch is always complaining about something. And I was like, that one like caught me off
Oh
guard,
my,
and then I
yeah,
click I click on the profile and it says follow back, and I'm like
crazy.
the irony. Like I knew clicking on the profile it would say follow back. I just knew it, and I was like,
You
why are
actually
you?
have to detach yourself, right? Like you just have to detach yourself from,
Yeah,
as weird as that sounds, like us as creators, I feel like we have to detach ourselves from our account sometimes.
yes, absolutely, absolutely, and honestly, like I think I was able to not let that comment affect me because it did say follow back.
Yeah,
Because I'm like, well, this person's clearly following me, like they're choosing to view my stuff
yeah.
and they're just hating just to hate. So I was like, whatever. Like it is what it is. And if like that's what you take as like complaining me like reminiscing on like the beautiful memories I had on my trip,
Like
like
ego boost for you, I guess, isn't it? Like
yeah, I just found
little.
that that's so funny. But yeah, social media is very interesting in that way. But it was so nice talking to you and thank you
Yeah,
for opening up about like your dating journey and stuff. I'm sure that will really help a lot of people because it's just not talked about. And thank you for sharing like the maybe not so nice side of it as well, and that there are people out there that yeah will judge you for your acne, but maybe those are the people that, you shouldn't be um having in your circle anyways, right? Like I think it's kind of a sign from the universe of like get this person out. So
yeah,
and like
yeah.
if kind of as a final note, like if anyone does go like on a first date or something and that person is more interested in your acne than you, then well, run.
Don't have enough interest, right? Like,
Yeah,
come on.
it's literally like so telling right away. So in a way, it's just like you can just use it as like your superpower of knowing how to filter out the maybe not so good weeds right off the start.
Exactly. We've been blessed
Yeah,
with this. Use it.
literally. And I think too, like there are so many lessons to take out of it. And again, we're not saying we're sitting here like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like I'm so
I
grateful I
love
have
my.
acne. Yeah. But there are things that I've really come to appreciate because of it. And I wouldn't change that journey that I went through. And honestly, like anytime because we kind of spoke about relapses, like anytime I do get more of a bad breakout and I start to get in my head and be like, oh no, like I'm going through this again, I always have to remind myself, well, you know what? I have been through this, like, and I got out of it. Like I will be okay. Even though it's frustrating and it's like I don't want to go through this again, you just have to remind yourself like, okay, well, you've done it before. You came out of it stronger, like, and you'll do it
That's
again. So,
every time you get stronger. That's what I tell myself. Like every breakout, I get a little bit stronger.
hmm hmm
Cliche sounds, but it's true.
yeah.
Like if you're really there from start to finish for yourself and you prioritize your like mental well-being and you kind of just detach yourself from your skin a little bit and just do things that
Yeah.
make you happy, like you
Yeah.
realize there's just so much more to life.
And that's how I feel like because I have like a lot of acne scarring and it's like a lot of like indentation, but and of course there are like treatments I could do to help with that. There's nothing that's gonna completely like bring my skin back to how it used to be, but um I do look at my scars now and honestly like they're a really good daily reminder for me of like okay, these all used to be like really, really painful breakouts. And it just, I think, I don't want to say like keeps me like humble, but it keeps me like, it grounds me in a weird way. Like it really keeps me like in a place of like, you know what, I've been through this. Like, and it just is that constant reminder, like, don't take your appearance and like these little things so seriously every day. And even though some days I'm like, oh, like I wish my skin was how it was before I got these breakouts because now I'm left with all the scarring, it is still like a constant reminder of like, well, yes, I'm left with all the scarring, but that's because I went through this journey and these are just like little like things to remind me of that every single day.
Yeah, I think that's such a like a healthy mindset to share with others as well because not everyone has access to treatments, right? Like not everyone
Mm-hmm.
has access to, like scarring treatments, not
Yeah,
everyone
good
likes
point.
scarring treatments, you know, like as much
Absolutely.
as much as they might want it, some people can't do it.
Yep.
And, you know, I always like I comment on a lot of people's posts like, you know, your scars are literally beautiful, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I see it as because I don't see it on the person themselves. Like I see it as a journey that they've been through. And it
Yeah.
like to me it just shows strength because I have scars as well and I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
it shows where I've been, you know, like I
Yeah.
would take it.
And honestly, anytime I'm like out in public and I see someone with acne scars, I on it like instantly I just view them in like such a light because I'm like, I know what you've been through and it's not easy. And
I
yeah, as you said, like I see it as I never look at it and I'm like, like go get your skin. Like never, ever, ever, ever. And like anyone else with acne can totally, I'm sure, relate with that. But it just creates like this like weird like yeah, like bonding with that person. Even like
yeah,
even if it's a stranger I've never talked to and I just like see them on the train, I'm like, I
kind
know
of
what
feel
you've been through.
connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
feel that.
We're just
Yeah.
all in our little community. Well, yeah, thank you so much for coming on to Loud Talk. I loved this conversation with you and just opening up. I could talk about this stuff forever, and I'm sure you could too. But thank you for sharing your journey. I'm sure so many people could relate to it, and thank you for doing what you do on socials. I love
Thank
it. I love your content. Thank you so much.
you as well. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming on, and I'm so happy we had this moment to chat. I love these conversations and just connecting with people in the community. Do you want to give a shout out to your pages and where the people can find you?
Yeah. So Instagram at healing with Key and TikTok skin with Key.
Amazing. I'll have all of Kiara's Instagram, TikTok, all her links down below in the description if you're watching on YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. We do post the YouTube visual version on the Loud Talk with Lavi YouTube channel. And then we also post on Spotify, Apple, and all the streaming platforms every single Sunday at 7 a.m. MST. But thank you so much for getting loud with me today. Thank you everyone for listening. And you'll hear from me in the next episode of Loud Talk with Lavi. Bye, everyone.